afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Dojo Live. It's Thursday, November 12th, 2020. This is the last episode of the week, and I am excited to have our guest who is actually broadcasting all the way from Singapore. So let's welcome my co hosts today. We have Carlos Ponce from Cuernavaca, Mexico. Hi, Carlos. Welcome
Hi.
back.
Thank you, Tulio.
And Mariel Navarro from Chihuahua, Mexico. Hi, Mariel. Welcome back.
Hi, Tulio. Thank you.
And least and not least and not less important is our guest. Why we do all this, which is Annie Chang, who is
Tulio.
Anne
Ann.
Chang. My apologies. Bye. I practiced like 4 times before we got going.
Yeah.
But that's how it goes sometimes. It's almost the end
Yeah.
of the week. So Anne Chang, who is from Supercharged Lab, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
So we have an interesting topic we're going to cover today. A very compelling title of the show, The Social Dilemma of Behavior Technology, Utopia or Dystopia. But before we go into that, let's get to know you a little bit. Please, Anne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks for having me on the line today. And well, I spent a lot of time in Singapore, and in the last couple of years, I've spent a lot of time in the US and globally because I was consulting for an organization which flew me across the world. But you know what really started this was. How I've been always fascinated by the behavior of how people do things, why people do things, what goes through their minds, and what do people want to feel when they experience something. So I started a venture capital fund out in Asia Pacific about 10 years ago called Startup Nation, and we invested in about 80 plus startups at our peak. And I retired in 2016, and then I started consulting for large corporates. And what really struck me was this idea that large corporates and startups have exactly the same problems. It's crazy, but they have exactly the same problems. The only difference was that large corporates dug a deeper hole for themselves. So that's why I started what I started, Supercharged Lab.
Interesting. So let's dig right into it. What does Supercharged Lab do?
Well, it's a great question. So we realize that startups and large organizations alike, they have the same problems. They're inefficient. They have a lot of wastage. Processes are lackluster or abysmal at best. So what Supercharged Lab does is it digs into certain processes. For now, it's digging into the sales process, and it basically tries to automate certain parts of it using psychological profiling and behavioral technologies. And we try to make the process more efficient or more effective. We've had a good amount of success right now. We've been around for about 12 weeks, and we have about 68 clients. We have done about $50+ million worth of sales on their behalf, and we're very aligned to what our clients are looking for. So we only get paid when they get paid. So that's what Supercharged Lab does.
Excellent. All right. So let's learn a little bit more. Why don't we go right into the topic today? Because I think it's an interesting conversation that's going to include. Carlos, would you kindly introduce the topic today? Let's go right into it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tulio. Tulio and Mariel and the audience, we're going to be speaking about the social dilemma of behavioral technology. Excuse me. Utopia or dystopia. So we're going to be answering the question whether can artificial intelligence be ethical, and can we create and sustain conscious technology? So look forward to this conversation. So that's the topic. Quick first question that I have for our guest. And why did you choose this particular topic? Why did you think it was relevant for this day and age?
Well, that's a really important question, right? So, the social dilemma is it's the fact that we are quickly marching towards what we call technological singularity, where we are going into a state where technology is getting smarter than humans. They're outperforming humans. They're creating um, technology creates its own technology, and it's at a point where you know are we going to lose control over technology and they will take over um, running the world, for example. It's technology forever, as you talk about Wakanda forever. It's um, so why this topic? It's an important topic. People are scared. People fear that we're going into a situation where um, we're so reliant on technology, and people the way technology has been created is that it hacks your mental molds. It's been created to trick yourself into certain behaviors without you consciously being aware. So this topic is very near and dear to my heart, so that's the reason why I chose it.
So you talk about, well, for those viewers who are watching who might not have a clear understanding of what conscious technology is, what do you refer to when when you mention this particular expression, conscious technology? To me, it's kind of intriguing, to say the least. So when I hear conscious technology, it conjures all kinds of crazy ideas in my head that are kind of perhaps are more related to Hollywood than anything else. So, but in the real world, uh, what do you refer to exactly when you speak about conscious technology? Can you elaborate on that, please?
Sure, of course. I think one of the first things when we talk about conscious technology is we're talking about building technology with a baseline of ethics. We have an ethical baseline as to how technology works, how we approach um, interactions of the technology with other human beings. I think it's one of the biggest things about conscious technology is um, a lot of people look at we build the technology and then we try to make it ethical, but the reality is if you want to have conscious technology you have to be ethical right from the start. You have to build it out ethically. So that's the reality of where conscious technology has to start from.
So I'm curious for you to define what you mean by ethically. What is the concern? What is the worry?
So there are a large number of ethical impacts to artificial intelligence, whether it's job loss, whether it's the cognitive biases that people who build the technology have. So, for example, you know, there is discrimination. Artificial intelligence follows the brains of the humans that build it. So we have a lot of unknown cognitive biases that we all carry in our heads.
Hmm.
We may not be supportive of minority groups. We might not be supportive of people who um, think differently from us. I read this book by Robert Sapolsky, who's a Stanford professor in neurology and neuroscience, and you know the brain is programmed to always have an us and them. We relate better to people who are like us. So at the end of the day, technology, it starts with the person. It starts with the person who's programming. It starts with the organization that's creating the technology. And if you don't start right, you end up having the issue of dealing with the ethical impact a little bit later on.
It's interesting. It sounds as though what you're saying is the problem is with the source code, and the source code is us humans, right? Because there's the thinking that technology doesn't have an ego, so therefore it's going to parse information and look at information, and especially with artificial intelligence and learning, that it would come out with a neutral approach to the world, right? But If it studies history, it's going to actually repeat history, which is nothing but far from neutral. So how do we fix that? How do we, we had a professor of ethics not too long ago on the show. We talked about this particular topic about AI and ethics and having actual ethic audits within software companies to make sure that the algorithms are not skewing, in favor of certain uh, you know, um, types of people, for example, based on historical trends. We're trying to break away from those historical trends. So if the source code is the cause of the problem, meaning us, how do you change that with technology? How do you teach it to discard some of those biases?
Sure, that's a great question, Tulio. And it starts. You can have the academic approach, and I I mean no offense, but the academic approach is the one with rigor. It's the one which really understands the skills, the knowledge behind how to build ethical artificial intelligence. But you get on the ground, and these people are product guys, and the first thing they do is, oh, I want to come up with a product. I want they don't think about the ethics when they build something. So it's really about the owners, the people who come up with the idea. It's not just the product guys, it's the product owners. The first thing that they need to do is start with a framework of what it means. Where are the interactions of the technology? Where are the interactions of the technology with other human beings, and how can we approach them in a good way, in a way that does not negatively impact the world or society or enable negative impact. So that's essentially, what I think we need to do. We need to start with frameworks. We need to start with rules. We need to create that utopia, so to speak, because if you leave it to chance, we're humans. History, as you say, is going to repeat itself, and we're going to go into a very non-neutral state of play.
Mm.
I have a question, and in your particular case at Supercharged Lab, well, you guys work with sales. I think in this kind of environment, it's a lot about information. Do you consider that in general, in your experience, using AI is considered unethical in a sales context?
That's actually something which one of my advisors, Dr. Mihaela Uliaru, actually said to me. Look, using artificial intelligence to do sales is innately unethical. But the reality is, we're not trying to sell per se. We're trying to help buyers buy. Let's put it this way: everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold to. That's one of the things that we go on in Supercharged Lab. And what we do is we psychologically profile people based on their public information, and we create messages that stick. But again, yes, is it ethical? The reality is, do we care? That's the first and most important question is, yes, we have to care. We have to care for the other person on the other side of the equation. If you don't care, then yeah, ethics is out the door. So the first thing that we do is we ensure that we care about who's on the other side of the line, on the other end of the equation, and we formulate conversations. We don't formulate um, marketing campaigns per se. We don't take the other person on the other side of the line as a digit. We take that person as a human being, and we create humanistic messages. And we basically do what a lot of people say they will do, but only we do it in a human fashion.
Tulio, we had a conversation, a recent conversation, if you remember, about AI, and our guest, I like the way he tweaked the AI acronym instead of saying I'm trying to remember the
Augmented intelligence
augmented intelligence,
instead of
exactly,
artificial intelligence.
instead of artificial, because so I like that concept of augmented intelligence, and I think that would probably be very pertinent for this for a sales related scenario. That's my personal take, because at the end we're dealing with humans. And so what do you think, is what's your personal take on this? Is it I mean, the comparison between what artificial intelligence is, and then versus this concept of augmented intelligence, which is,
Mhm.
to me, it's like an addition to what humans, it's like a boosting the human capacity to build relationships aided by technology. So that's the way I see it. And I'm not an engineer, I'm just saying from this, from the regular run-of-the-mill layman's terms type of guy. So what do you think of this? Yeah.
Well, Carlos, that's really a brilliant way to put it. It's important that we realize that as much as technology can do a lot of work for us, at the end of the day, we're humans interacting with other humans. Technology is an enabler that helps you do things at scale, that helps you do things at speed. But if it removes that emotion, that emotion of interacting human to human, then yeah, you're right, absolutely. Then it's not intelligence at all. It's actually, quite frankly, stupidity. It's artificial stupidity if you fail to remember that there's a human being right behind every interaction. So we create technologies that behave as much as possible as a human being, um, and it actually is a creation of a technology that models and emulates us as individuals. So when you look at my technology, you'll see that the messaging that I send out, the interactions that go out. These interactions are very consistent with who I am as an individual as well.
It's interesting. The term artificial intelligence, it sounds cool, but it's a farce because there's nothing artificial about it. It is mimicking and repeating human behavior. It's just automating it. So if the behavior is quote unquote, as you said, stupid, you're going to have stupid automation, right? If the behavior is bias based, you're going to have automated bias based behavior, which is worse than what we have right now. So in reality, this idea of artificial intelligence is a farce because what we're looking at is technology that can augment or enhance how we present ourselves, how we deal with situation. In most cases, automating processes that would take thousands of people to do. But I find it fascinating what you're saying is that there's this ethical challenge of disrupting some of the behavioral patterns, or we risk this machines basically creating a dystopia instead of a utopia. So you guys have incorporated some of the more human elements to messaging and communication within your platform. How are you
Mhm.
doing that? Do you have some kind of a human to machine interface where something comes up and an individual inputs information? How do you create that learning for the system? How do you create that interaction between the person and the machine? How are you guys doing that?
So we've been around for 12 weeks, and we've had three iterations of our machine. I lovingly call them my robots, and I mean that they are like pets, like my pet dog, um, in a very strange, foreign, futuristic way. Um, the thing is, we treat it like a pet dog. Literally, we are kind to it. We feed it. We feed it with our emotions. We don't feed it with it's really about the viewpoints, right? How do you see your clients? How do you see the people who interact with your machine in its work? So if you see your clients as digits, as ways to dollar signs, and ways to a means to an end, then obviously your technology is going to be very curt, and really going to be less than ethical, less than empathetic. Um, so it's about how you change the way you see the client, the prospect, or the other people who interact with your engines. um, I I think the most important thing for me is really how I see my clients. My clients are human beings. I see that they are humans with fears, with struggles, with challenges, with dreams, and that actually helps me to create technology which understands the human psychology behind their motivations to do what they do.
Go ahead, Marielle. I think you had a question.
Yeah, Tulio. And yeah, I have a question. Going back to a specific case of supercharged lab, um, are there any principles that your company might follow or think are important in regards of using AI? I mean, because we're dealing here with customers' information.
Mhm.
So, are there any
Oh yeah.
guidelines that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are very transparent. The first thing is transparency. It's about communication with our clients, with the people who interact with us, where our stand is in terms of how we use their data. The second thing that we do is we don't store data. We always ensure that um, you know information is kept live. The robots don't store the data. We do reporting. The information is anonymized, is scrubbed. We have a lot of parameters that we use in order to ensure that data is kept as anonymized, and humans are treated like humans. They're not data. They're not numbers and digits and email addresses. So that's I can come up with a list of 50 parameters as to how we ensure that there's ethics being incorporated into our engines. Um, but at the end of the day, it starts with um, the fact that when you iterate technology, when you create technology, um, it has to have that human consideration. It has to feel like a human being is interacting with the other person, not a machine versus the other person.
I have a question for you, and well, this is regarding specifically supercharged labs. For those who might be watching right now, might be watching the show, a lot of our the people that are watch our shows are engineers or are technically inclined or oriented. So, how what would you say? What would you say that would make supercharged labs? I know you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is a recent undertaking. It has been recently created. So I can envision a great culture, a great company culture, just for the mission alone. Can envision a great culture. What would you say to these people who might be watching, who might be thinking of, hey, I'm going to reach out to them to Supercharged Lab and see what they're up to, and maybe even apply for a job? So if you think in those terms, what would you say that would make Supercharged Lab a great company that a lot of people might want to work for in the future?
That's a great question, Carlos. And um, I think the culture of Supercharged Lab is simply one where you bring your best self. We have some core values, of which I'm writing an article right now on one of our core values, and that core value is about excellence. So we talk about excellence as a culture. It's something, a lifestyle choice, for example. We believe that excellence begets excellence and attracts excellence. So you come to work with your best self. You we don't deal with mediocrity in this organization. Excellence is a massive part of our culture. We want to raise the bar every single time we do something, and we don't raise the bar marginally. We always try to raise the bar significantly, and we continually try to be better than we were yesterday. That's excellence, and the culture of excellence and energy. The other core value that we have is really coming with that flow, with that force of nature, and saying, "I am here to do good. I am here to do good in a big way, not in a marginal way. I'm not going to just invest. Yeah, I don't feel like it today. Everybody feels like it every day. We are a group of people who are supercharged. We are supercharged lab because we have a culture of experimentation. The word lab tells you about experimentation, but supercharged in the word itself, supercharged. We are supercharged people. We are charged up and ready to go and ready to raise the bar.
And as I'm listening to you, I can't help but keep thinking you need like courses for engineers that are like enlightenment courses, right? People who take an interest in philosophy or in quantum physics or consciousness, right? Because it sounds to me that's going to make the right kind of mindset to go and create these products and technologies that take into account the bigger picture, the higher purpose of life, and remove some of the biases that exist from the past. So how can we foster that? I mean, when we think about, are you seeing that people interested in AI also have a similar sort of interest in philosophy or consciousness, or just more enlightened in terms of their view of the world? Or is there a correlation there of people taking interest in this kind of thing?
Tulio, no, there isn't.
Or is that just a
Absolutely,
dream of mine?
it is a dream. I work with so many data scientists, and the first thing I say is, don't you care about where your data is going, when what it's doing? And they go, no, we care about the data. Is that what you mean? And I go, no, who's behind the data? What does the data say? So I think the honest truth is, it starts from the top. The organization needs to be started by individuals who care, and that's one of the biggest things that I believe we try to do better. We care. I remember when I first started Startup Nation many years ago. The first thing I said to my entrepreneurs, to my startups that worked with me, was, you cannot outsource caring. You cannot ever outsource caring. So the first thing that we all need to learn is how to care for your customers, your people, your family and friends. It's easy when you like the people, you care, but when you don't know the people, how do you care? So it starts with, right from the top, the culture of care in an organization.
Love that. And with that, we're going to wrap it up because we're out of time. But love the sentiment. If you want to build technology that's going to be disruptive, make it with care. Make sure you care about people. We love that. And thank you for being with us today. We enjoyed having you here. It's been an interesting conversation, very enlightening conversation. Hope
course.
people listening can take to heart these ideas and perhaps, encourage some of these engineers to expand their consciousness beyond the data and think about the people that it impacts. Carlos,
Absolutely.
it's been a great week. Come back, everybody, on Monday at 1 p.m. We have the recap show. We're going to
The
recap
recap
all
show.
3 shows in 10 minutes. If you'd like to participate in the recap, be one of the Brady Bunch windows here. Just make a comment wherever you're watching us. We will make sure we connect with you. We'll invite you. And what do we got coming up next week, Carlos?
Well, Tulio, we got a full week ahead, and because of, I don't know why, Tulio, maybe it's the season, but I don't have the topics yet, unfortunately, because the guests haven't set. Well, I only have one, as a matter of fact, which is the one with Greg Dickinson, and Doug Udoff, the CEO of Omedim. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And the topic is the importance of buyer enablement, which is the sales automation platform, Omidim. And in other words, we're going to be talking about building trust digitally through the customer journey. That's next week. And then after that, we don't have, like I said, the topics, but folks, don't miss Dojo Live right here. No, wait a minute. No, yeah, we do have it, as a matter of fact. Sorry, it's just that it's been crazy. It's been like this, updating every day. Folks, bear with
I'm
me.
like, what are you talking about? We have to.
Yeah, we got a bunch of them. No, the thing is that there's one that is not mine. So it's
Yeah,
not
Wednesday morning. Yeah.
It's Mark Grubb, the head of Immersive Tech Center for UPS. I think that's on the side of our teammates. But it's going to be XR and enterprise through the years. Work, play, travel, or does your organization have the right XR strategy? That's on November the 18th at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is an early morning. And that's all I have, Tulio.
Okay, we'll see you guys on Monday at 1 p.m. We'll announce the lineup at that time.
Okay.
Then make sure we got it all copacetic. Till then, stay safe. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much, everybody.
guys.
As we wrap up, Ann.
Okay.